Hey guys, Anthony here. Street Fighter 2. It's a video game that came out in 1991, and I'm just getting into it now. Why is that? Well, I'm going to go over that. It's not just because Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is coming out, and I'm super excited for that. I legit have been really liking this game, and I just wanted to explain it to you, go over why. Now, for those of you who are veteran players of this game, I'm probably going to say a lot of things that are obvious, maybe even stupid, but this video is basically just to get you in the mindset of somebody who's just getting into this game. I'll take you through the frustrations, the triumphs, the ups and downs, because this game is a classic. It's still relevant, maybe not relevant, but people still play it. So if you're interested in this game and you want to hear my perspective on it, let's explore, shall we? Now, it's not like I've never played any sort of fighting game before. I do have a bit of a Smash background. Smash is, of course, not a traditional fighting game, but it is in the subgenre of fighting games as a platform fighter. I just want to make that clear because I've heard people think it's a party game, which is true to some extent, but, you know, we know that it has a lot of fighting game DNA in Smash, so let's make that clear. As far as my skill level is concerned, I've gone to local tournaments, events in bars, you could say, where I quite frequently score in the, well, I get to the final round, and at the final round, I choke because of tournament nerves. But yeah, I do consistently get to the final round, so while I'm by no means a competitive Smash player, you could, I guess, consider me king of the non-hardcores. But yeah, Smash Bros. As a series does obviously have a lot of fighting game DNA within it. It's very much designed, however, to be the antithesis of a fighting game. There's lots of things that is commonplace in fighting games that sucked, that you don't get with traditional fighters. It's very much designed to make things easier on novice players. So, for example, there's things like Final Smashes, which, well, I guess that's a lot like Super Moves, but, you know, there's things like multiplayer as opposed to only one-on-one fights. There's items that can help you out. You can get backed into a corner, but not in the same sense as a traditional fighter. But what I would say sets apart Smash from a traditional fighting game is its control scheme. It's very much designed to be an approachable thing for a little kid, or, you know, just somebody who doesn't want to get into a hardcore sort of thing. It is more relaxed. I cannot argue that. I wouldn't call it full-on party game like some people think it is, but you can't deny that it's meant to be approachable in that sense. Now, Smash, it has a very natural control scheme. For example, that's Bowser's recovery move. He generally wants to move upward when he does his recovery move, and my fingers, to do that input, it's up B. My fingers move naturally with the path of the character. Now, this is not an absolute thing. For example, that's Bowser's down special. He moved upward and not down, although he can do it, but the point is, when you're going from a simple game like Smash, not a simple game, but the simple control scheme like Smash, to a more traditional fighter, like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Soul Calibur, those types of games, it can be very difficult to get through your head because not every move just is like that. It doesn't, you know, that's a sideward going move and the input was sidewards. That's a low move and the input was low. You know, so a bit of adjusting that you have to get to. So, depending on your perspective, I either grew up or I didn't grow up with this game. The game came out when I was little. I never owned it. I played it only in the arcades, in the mall. My local mall is where I played this game a little bit. It was definitely not my go-to game. I normally opted to play either The Simpsons or Ninja Turtles, but I did change things up and I did play Street Fighter 2 sometimes. This just isn't really a game that I gravitated towards or even really understood. If you look at my Super Nintendo game collection from when I was a kid, my games that I owned, they were Super Mario pretty much exclusively, or games that were based on cartoons like Tiny Toons or Toy Story. Bet you didn't know this was a game, and I had it. Not Final Fantasy. This is what I asked Santa for. A game where I get to play as the guy on a bag of Cheetos. Just look at these characters. There's not a single cute character among them. Not that there should be. It's not like I want to see Hello Kitty getting her teeth kicked in. But I mean, just the point is that there's not really anybody that the kid would just gravitate towards. Every single one of these characters, they all look mean. They're very scowly and nasty looking. And because of that, it's not even really clear who the hero of this game even is. It's Ryu, and we know Ken is the secondary, but we only know that because there's been 30 years of getting to know these characters and their lore and backstory if you're into that sort of stuff. If you're a little kid that's getting into this game in the early 90s, you can't really tell who it is. You try to figure it out yourself. You think maybe Chun-Li, she's a girl, she must be feminine and sweet, so she's probably nice. But then, when you're playing as her, she says something like, "I'm the strongest woman in the world," and you're like, "Whoa, okay, cunt." And then she grabs your head between her legendary thighs and squeezes it like a watermelon, because he called her a cunt. Now, I don't remember much about this game from my childhood perspective, but I do remember having some sort of decision paralysis when it came to the character select screen, because it was just like, what are these characters? Like, what are they supposed to be? Like, you know, back in the 90s, white suburbia, not that there's anything wrong with that, it is what it is, but, it's just like, you see a character like Dalsim, and he's just plain freaky. He's got, like, these skulls around his neck, and you're just like, whoa. You might remember in recent years people found Apu from the Simpsons Offensive, and that's why he's no longer on the show. But the thing is, without Apu, back in the 1990s, you know what your representation would have been if Apu never existed? It would have been Dalsim and the characters from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So, call me crazy, but if I was of Indian ancestry, I would much prefer Apu be there and aspire to be Apu, rather than everybody thinking my culture was weird and fucking backward because of characters like Dalsim. Not saying anything negative about Dalsim, but I'm just pointing out that if Dalsim was just it, that probably wouldn't have been great. Anyway, it was just hard to understand the characters back then, because you got Chun-Li, and she's got these weird things in her hair, and she has a Chinese dress on, which I never saw as a kid growing up in the New York suburbs. Zangief, he's this big, scowly guy, so I didn't want to go with him. You got Blanca, which, okay, cool, but everybody else in the game is human. Why is there just a plain old monster here? He looks like he lives in the rainforest subsisting off of dead animal carcasses and cans of Mountain Dew. I call him a mutant, but I don't even know if he's canonically supposed to be a mutant. That's just the word I use for him in my head. He doesn't seem like he's supposed to be a good guy at all, because if you look at the Super Nintendo box art for him, he's just on there, just lunging towards the sweet, perfect Chun-Li, who we all want to kiss and caress. So you would think he's a bad guy. And in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine, because I guess Magic the Gathering did some sort of crossover with Street Fighter, and he's into that, and he was just like, oh, Blanca just doesn't seem like he would be good at all. And I agree, he doesn't. He doesn't seem like the type of character that has that ending in one of the games where an old lady just sees him and goes, "Jimmy," and that's supposed to be his mom. Like, he just doesn't seem like a good guy. Which maybe teaches us a valuable lesson in not judging people by appearance, but, you get what I'm saying. Even Ryu, or Ryu as I thought his name was back then, I didn't really understand what he was supposed to be, I don't think. I mean, I guess I probably understood that he was a karate guy, but his design, it's very anglicized. He doesn't look Japanese in this particular version. Maybe they made him look a little more Japanese in later games, but right here he looks kind of like a white guy in a karate game, and that's not what he is. So I guess that's probably why when I was a little kid, I gravitated toward Guile. It makes sense because he actually was designed to appeal to us in the West, but like I understood what Guile was. Everybody else was a mystery, but Guile, he's wearing that camouflage clothing, so I'm just like, oh, okay, army guy. And I would pretty much always pick Guile, even though I had no idea what I was doing in the game. So I would put a quarter in the arcade cabinet, pick Guile, get my ass kicked, and then move on to the Simpsons game because it was a lot easier. I don't think I'm saying anything too out of the box when I say fighting games are just more difficult to understand than other genres. You know, platformers, for example. It's not like all you gotta do is go right, and then once you see a turtle, jump over it. You know, these are just... This genre is just more natural. It more naturally lends itself to a phenomenon like gatekeeping. And when I say gatekeeping, that word is used in a negative connotation most of the time. Sometimes it can be good, you know, if there's a player that wants to do the dragon punch to you in real life, yeah, I think it's okay to bar that person from gameplay. But, you know, obviously we shouldn't gatekeep somebody over superficial dumb factors. But, fighting games, they just naturally gatekeep just in their difficulty and mechanics, in ways that they don't really need to be. I mean, some ways they need to be, but you could make it easier. It's a little weird that you don't. And that's because it's just one of the more naturally competitive genres, too. You know, fighting games and shooters, I would say, are just the most that gatekeep on a just intentional level with, you know, you have people saying, get good fighting games, which, you know, people like to talk about the toxicity of the Smash community. The whole time I've played Smash, it's not that I haven't run into toxic players, but I never heard somebody specifically say get good, like to be a dick. I have heard it just once on a fucking Street Fighter forum. So, like, somebody directly told me to get good when I was asking for help, so it was just like, fuck you, dude. Like, I'm trying. That's what I'm doing. But it's not just gatekeepy in the design and the intentional people. I just find people to be unintentionally gatekeepy because there's a lot of fighting game lingo. Things like abbreviations and just slang can really make people just, you know, not turn them off, but feel like they're not going to get the hang of it. Like, in Smash, they say words like fair, dare. I try to say things like forward aerial so people... It's more clear what I'm talking about. I mean, you might not know what that is, but it's easier to understand than me saying fair. So I feel like there's a lot... Like, if you need a glossary to learn something, you know, it doesn't need to be that way. Just, we can help people understand. Just try to be aware of that, is what I'm saying. So yeah, because of entry barriers like that, I didn't really have a lot of fighting game experience until now. I played Clay Fighter 63 1/3 a lot, but I just really button mashed. I didn't really know anything about it. I just wanted to win, and I just hit whatever buttons I could, and hopefully beat my friends or the computer. The other fighting game I played growing up was when I was a teenager. It was when Soul Calibur 2 came out. I played that a lot. I liked the weapons and all that, and I got into the lore and stuff a little bit too. But other than that, I really didn't play fighting games too much. Then, of course, the SNES Classic came out, and that's when I wanted to give this game a try, because it was on there. Not this version, it was because obviously this is the Sega version, and SNES Classic would have a Super Nintendo version. I think it was a worse version. I think it was just only 8 characters, so worse in that sense. But yeah, I tried to get into this game there, and just for some reason, I just had no idea what I was doing. I mean, you could see my gameplay and argue that I still don't, but yeah, in that game it was even worse because it's just, it was just, I could beat the first character, and I would try all different difficulty settings. I wasn't sure, like, what difficulty setting was what, like, whether all stars meant just very easy or very hard. So I just experimented with all different difficulty settings, and yet I still couldn't make any headway in that game. I could beat the first NPC, computer character, whatever we call it, but then the second would be Ryu, and no matter what, Ryu would just completely decimate me, kick my ass. And I tried, and just, I couldn't beat him, so I just eventually gave up and just, I went back to playing Super Mario RPG because it's one of my favorite games ever, and the other games that were on the console. Of course, I am getting into Street Fighter now, and the reason is because of this. They added Street Fighter, specifically Special Champion Edition, to the Nintendo Switch Online Sega Genesis app. I'm quite often looking for something. I play a lot of Smash, and that's my go-to, but I'm quite often looking for something that I can just pick up and play for maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, if that's what I've got, and just have a good time. And personally, there's not a lot of stuff that I can do that with. I guess I could do that with the Mario games, I can do that with Mega Man here, but when I play those games, I kind of just end up wanting to play through the whole thing, and if I don't play through the whole thing, it makes me feel weird, because then I'm just like, I'm playing through the same levels over and over again. So I was looking for a game that had a lot of replayability on these apps, and out of all the games on all the apps, it's basically Street Fighter 2 that you can keep playing over and over again. So that's what got me hooked into this. Now this isn't the greatest version, that's what my understanding is. It's not the worst because it allows you to play as the 4 boss characters, but there were also 4 other characters that were added later into the mix that you don't get to play here. So I'm guessing this isn't the version that everybody still plays, the people that still play this game. I'm assuming they play the other version with the additional characters, and I think there's super moves added to that version as well. So it's kind of weird that I would get into this particular version, but that's what they've got. And it's hooking me. I'm really enjoying the gameplay. Also, let me get a few nitpicks out of the way. Like, this selection screen. Because why? Why are you rushing me? Every time I get to this selection screen, I feel like they're treating me like an old lady who wandered into the bank with a jar of pennies. Like, oh, here's one from 1949. No, that's not me. I just want to take a little extra time is all. Can't you just let me do that? It's just, when I get to this screen, and the character selection screen is just like, hurry up, and I want to take my time. I get why they do that in the arcade. I get why, because they want to just get people moving, get their quarters as fast as possible, so they don't want people dicking around, but why not adjust it for the home console? It just doesn't make any sense. Of course, then you get to this screen, and then the game doesn't even give you the character's standard costumes. You gotta go to the just regular mode for that, and I think everybody plays Turbo. That's what I play on, at least. So then you gotta be like, oh, do you hit star? Do you hit A? What the fuck is that? Just make it easy. It's very annoying. Although I do really love the opening theme song to this game, as well as the select screen theme. I think they're both very kick-ass and catchy. There's also how this game is called Street Fighter, which doesn't really make sense because it's not about a street fight, it's about a tournament going on, which is the exact opposite of a street fight, a sanctioned tournament. The closest thing to an actual street fight, I feel like, is the opening sequence where those 2 guys are beating the shit out of each other. But anyway, back to actual gripes. It is very difficult to learn this game, I feel, because this game does not have any sort of trading mode. It's just, I guess the closest thing to that would be to just turn on 2-player mode and just have nobody at the other controller and just try to wail on somebody, like I just did to Zangief. But there's just no easy way to learn, no training mode where you can see the hitboxes and hurt boxes, no combo counter, no, it's just basically you gotta try to get good playing against the computer or other people. Nothing breaks it down for you, and it's very frustrating that way. In addition to no training mode, there is also no easy mode. Now I know it says there's an easy mode right here, but that's a terrible, terrible lie, because if you're just learning, you're going to get your ass kicked no matter what you set it on. It doesn't matter. Like, the AI is just crazy in my opinion, because it's very inconsistent. Honda in particular, he's like the most inconsistent character because either he just stands there and you can just wail on him till no tomorrow, or he just like attacks you like all hell and just you cannot get a fucking hit in edgewise. No matter what difficulty you set it on, that's what happens. And in a true, properly designed game, not that I'm a game designer and should be saying anything about it, but realistically, I don't think that should happen if you want to set it on easy. And it's not just Honda either, like there's other characters, Balrog in particular, all he has to do is win neutral once, and then you're just dead. And I just realized I might be doing the thing that I was pointing out earlier by saying the word neutral, but that's basically just, if he wins an interaction where nobody has an advantage, Balrog we're talking about, just you're dead. Just it's very hard to come back from that. Maybe if not if you're an expert player, but if you're just learning, just Balrog can just like throttle you. This video is probably going to get uploaded after the big Tyson fight. Is this how the fight went? Let me know in the comments below. And Sagat as well. He's very just as soon as he does his tiger uppercut moves, you're just, you know, good luck winning that one. You're going to get overwhelmed and it's going to feel not fun at all, but if you stick with it, you'll get better. Maybe. I don't know you. You might end up sucking anyway. But I got a little bit better than I was, I feel. Probably can't beat anybody, but, you know, kicking the computer's ass more than I did. To me, it doesn't seem like there's an easy mode. I guess the closest thing to that would be, I guess, the speed. I feel like the adjustment of the speed is what makes it easier or harder, because I think the actual difficulty it stays within the same range. I guess we can test it though. I guess we can maybe just put it up all the way in hard and full speed. This will surely go well. Ooh, I actually got hidden, so that's good. Can I pull off the supers at this speed? Yeah, I can. Nice. Yep. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, it doesn't matter that there's no easy mode because you're not supposed to be playing against the computer anyway. You're only supposed to be playing against humans if you want to get better. I've never heard people actually say that for Street Fighter, but people say it for Smash, so I'm just assuming people say it for Street Fighter as well. They say in Smash, never play against the computer, is what I've heard from multiple sources. Well, the only problem with that is that there's nobody for me to play against, so I can't really do that. You know, again, this game is like 30 years old now, and I don't know, maybe there are locals that I can go to, but I don't know how I would find those. I type in anybody playing Street Fighter 2 in my area, and if they are playing it again, they're not playing this version of it, they're playing the one with the super moves and the extra characters. So, you know, how am I going to do that? Well, maybe that's not true, because I guess, you know, these Nintendo Switch Online apps, they do allow for online play, supposedly, but, you know, it's not like Nintendo's exactly notorious for good internet on their systems, so even if I did want to do that, you know, just, is that a good option? I doubt it. And I'm no expert, so you shouldn't take my advice over somebody that's actually good in this game, but I don't believe in the never play against the computer if you want a good philosophy anyway, because, you know, I was just against Ryu in the previous fight. The computer, it clues you into how you're actually supposed to play if you don't know anything about the game. Like I said, if I was playing Ryu, when the computer is playing, he backs up and doesn't attack you up close like most of the characters would. So that clues you in that that's how Ryu's supposed to be played. He and Ken have the exact same moveset. Ken wants to get on top of you, Ryu wants to get away. And that's what the computer does when they're playing against you. So there is value in playing against the computer, I feel. Now, once you know that that's how you're supposed to play Ryu, and that's how you're supposed to play Ken, maybe the computer's taught you all it's going to teach you, but to say it has no value in it, that's just wrong, I feel. Now, if you're one of the about 30 people that watched my Smash Bros. Video, you'll know that I'm notorious amongst my friends for not picking a main in Smash, and that has carried over to Street Fighter. As you can see, I've been playing several characters. I don't like to pick a main. To me, that's weird. It's like, if you're playing Smash, there's like 80 characters. You just play one of them, you're only playing like 1% of the game, in my opinion. So that's just, Besides, I don't really care about winning as much as I care about having fun. I'd rather have fun than win. So that's why I do that. Video games are basically the last thing in this world that makes me happy, so it's really not worth it to make this game no longer fun. I need to enjoy myself where I can. I will say that comparatively speaking, you probably should pick a main here when you're comparing this game to Smash. It's much easier, I feel, to just not pick a main in Smash and just adapt what you're going to do, because you can memorize the moves much easier, I feel, in Smash, just of every character. Like, I play the whole roster except for like 4 characters in Smash because I don't like them, and I know what move I'm going to do. Here, I find it much more difficult memorizing what move is what. So that's why you should pick a main here. I would say I gravitate most towards Chun-Li and Blanca. I also like M. Bison, but really I like all the characters. I like the feeling every character gives me. Sometimes I want to play as Guile and get that fast, quick gameplay in and be able to win. Other times I just want to pick Zangief, because who doesn't want to be a big Russian fuck throwing out big meaty punches like this? Come on now. Isn't that fun? Just beating up this scrawny piece of shit. Another thing that gets in my way, I feel, is the controller. I do not play with the Super Nintendo controller. Well, I guess it would be the Genesis controller. Though I think you can use the Super Nintendo controller on other apps if it applies. But anyway, point is, I don't use the standard Super Nintendo controller or Genesis controller. I play with a busted Pro controller that I've worn out to the point where when I'm playing Smash, it just does not register inputs straight up sometimes. I hit the button to recover, and I've died quite on occasion. So that's why I don't play too much online. I play the computer now. But yeah, it's just I don't play with the standard controller, and that is a bit of a detriment, I feel, because this is not a great controller for this particular game. I hope I get at least one hit in on Ryu right now. Oh, fuck it, it's not looking good. Nope, I did not. He got a perfect against me, that's not great. But maybe the computer destroying me now just proves my point that this controller just isn't that great. It's not very ideal. In particular, I find the control pad to just be shitty. It's very small, and I often just am not doing what I want to be doing because of something like that. The good thing about it is the buttons still feel very natural to me. The layout that this controller uses. The way I think of it is that just you have the light, medium, heavy punches and kicks. So the top buttons are for the punches, the left shoulder, the right shoulder, and the middle Y button punches, and then I think it's XBA, they are the punches. So in that way it's easy to kind of categorize, so that's a good thing. Yeah, I really need to invest in a better controller, particularly one that has a wire on it. Those are a lot better for this type of game. So, not to give Johns, but I do feel like my controller is somewhat responsible for the somewhat poor performance that I do have while playing this game. I quite often, engage in misinputs. Particularly if I'm doing a move like this special move that I just did there. A lot of the times I'm trying to move backward, hold backward on the control pad, but because the control pad is so fucking small, it's so small the mice are hunchbacked. Because it's so small, I end up doing something like jumping instead. Like I jump repeatedly like this when I'm trying to do a special move. And it's very frustrating, the amount of misinputs that I find. Now, the misinputs that I'm talking about, they're not just because of the controller, but because of me as well. Now, again, going back to Smash, there's probably like 5 different categories of attack that are within the game. So there's, of course, it's Smash Bros, so there's Smash attacks, but there's also, fuck, that was just getting throttled. So there's, of course, Smash attacks, there's tilts, there's aerials, there's throws, and there's special moves. And then I guess there's also just other moves like jabs and dash attacks and final smashes. So I guess there's 6 categories that we would put other. So with all the attack types except with the possible exception of other, each category is divided into 4 different directions, possibly 5 if we're counting a neutral input. Now in Street Fighter, you can't really think of it that way. There's also about 5 main categories of attack, but you got to think of it differently. So there's gotta wait till I'm done getting throttled before I show you. Oh, now Ken's dead. Oh my god, I killed Kenny. You bastard. So in Street Fighter 2, there's of course aerials like this. There's ground attacks. There's crouches. There's also throws and special moves. But you can't think of it like that, so you gotta think of it more like a branch, I feel. So there's more just throws and specials on this one side, and then there's the other moves on the other side, the aerials, normals, and crouches. And then, further down the branch, you've got light, medium, and heavy attacks. Please forgive the crudeness of this chart, but this is about as well as I can explain it, and yes, I make charts about as well as I play Street Fighter 2. When I phrase it like that, it sounds pretty simple, but unfortunately, it is not simple, because of one very annoying thing, which is that the attacks share animations, and this is very frustrating, because look at this, if I can pull it off without being harassed by Guile. So, light, medium, heavy. The exact same animation for each attack. That makes it very hard to categorize the attacks in your head, to sort of memorize what button does what, and just be able to play efficiently. So that's why you pick a main in this game. And it's not consistent as a thing. Sometimes it's the same exact animation for all 3 moves, other times it's completely different animations, completely different moves, and you wonder why I walk around having trust issues. It's not like that in Smash. In Smash, if you're playing as Mario and you want to throw out a fireball, there's only one way to throw out a fireball. It's you hit B. I mean, you can do variations of it. You can toss it in the air, you can B reverse the fireball, but it's not like fireball is B and it also up tilt C stick. It's, if you want to throw out a fireball, you gotta hit the fireball button. So there's no confusion there. Unlike Street Fighter, which, yeah, it's a big old kick in the face. Doing things that way is just a very unintuitive way to build a control scheme, and it's only further frustrating when you realize that there's moves that just change based on how close you are to the opponent. So instead of just assigning a different animation to a different button, it's just like the same button is responsible for 3 different moves, sometimes. Just, I don't know how to explain it, just doesn't need to be that way. Like, okay, that was supposed to be a heavy punch like this. Same button and press. When you get in close, it becomes a throw. Why not just have a throw button and a heavy punch button? I mean, there weren't enough buttons back then to do that, but you could do just, I guess, the heavy punch button plus another button, and that would be your throw, instead of it just being spatially based. Like normally Ryu tosses out this spinning hook kick right here, that's what it looks like. It's kind of hard to tell what it's supposed to be because of the animation. But yeah, that's his heavy, right here when he's doing the spinning hook kick. But then when he gets close, it becomes an axe kick. Spatially based moves in particular are very frustrating because it's just like, okay, well, your opponent is moving towards you. And I realize, I guess that's part of the game. You're supposed to react and just... It's part of the game to just be prepared for that sort of thing. I don't like things that take control away from the player. I think the more control you give to a player, the better designed the game is, in my opinion. Again, I'm not a game designer, so I probably shouldn't comment, but I do think that's how it is. Just, if I want to do a straight punch, I should be able to do a straight punch instead of a grab. It shouldn't be up to my opponent, I feel. It's especially annoying if you're playing a character like Chun-Li, who, like, if you want to do her bounce off the back wall move, well, sometimes the back wall isn't where you want it to be because the other character is moving, and now there's no back wall for you to play off of. I also don't get medium moves. Like, okay, there's light, medium, and heavy moves. But what are medium moves for? Like, I get light moves, I'm assuming, just have better frame data. So what you're probably supposed to do is just poke with the light move and then work your way into a heavy move. But I guess maybe you're supposed to combo light, medium, heavy. Like, just, like, let's see if I can do it. See, but then I try to do it and then I accidentally throw, like what I was saying. But I don't get the medium moves. Just, it seems like you use the light move because it's quick frame data, and then heavy move when they're just very vulnerable. Medium moves, I don't get it. Although, to be fair, I don't really get comboing in general. I don't understand how to do it, because as you saw, I did the light move, went to do the medium move, and then just, you know, didn't work. And I guess that's the expert level of play, is that, you know, maybe just they have perfect spacing like that and they just wouldn't do that mistake that I did. But again, I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody that is learning this game, and that's just not something that I really understand yet. So if you can help me with that, I guess leave me a comment. If you can help me with this game at all, leave me a comment in the comments section. Now, the advantage of playing this game in the modern day is that you can look things up on the internet. It's sort of like the original Zelda, in that, like, the experience is very different from people playing now than it was for people playing the original. If you're playing the original Zelda, you learned things from friends and other people in schoolyard, and I'm assuming that's what you did with this game, maybe? I don't know, but here I have to look things up. If you're an old school player of this game, just let me know how you found out about stuff. Stuff like all the moves, because there's no move list is the annoying thing. There's no training mode, there's also no move list to know what does what. It would be nice if they gave each move a name, like call this a low sweep or whatever, so you would know what to do and what button did what. It's very frustrating not having that. So let me know in the comments below how you found that sort of stuff out, if it was just trial and error or whatnot. If you're a veteran player, I'm assuming you've heard novice players like me complain about things like specials before, and how it's too hard to do them. I wouldn't say they're too hard to do, but there's definitely an easier way to do them. Like, we're seeing it in the modern Street Fighter games, one-button input specials. I feel like that's how it always should have been, because just from a business perspective, again, it's very gatekeepery. Wouldn't you just want as many people playing this game as possible? So why not just make a one-button special? It makes sense to me. But, you know, I get it. This game is kind of the first of its kind, so they probably didn't think of things like that when it was coming out. So yeah, most specials are easy, but they are esoteric, because when I do something like Blanca's roll right there, I have to look it up because I see the computer doing it and I want to know how to do it. And I look it up, and the information online says to do that move, you have to hold back for 2 seconds. Then, at the same time, you gotta press forward and the, I think, punch button. Yeah, punch button, because the kick is this one. So you gotta do that, which is very inefficient, because I feel, first of all, if you see me backing up like that, don't you know what I'm gonna do? Probably. I guess you can play Flissies a little better, and this is how you cover it, but I feel like it's a very telegraphed move. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make is that online, what it says to do is to hit backward for 2 seconds, then do the extra input. And what the fuck is 2 seconds? Because it seems like it would be self-explanatory, 2 seconds is 2 seconds, but it's really not, because depending on what speed you set the game at, wouldn't 2 seconds differ? Like, does it just mean 2 units of time according to the clock that I don't have on right now? Or does it just mean literally 2 seconds? Because it doesn't seem literally 2 seconds. It seems like the computer can do it in a fraction of that time. So it's probably not literally 2 seconds. It's probably 2 units of time. And I expressed this online, and this is where the get good asshole came in, because he was just like, it's not literally 2 seconds, get good. Like, again, that's what I'm trying to fucking do, but the information online doesn't explain it too well. So, I don't know. Like, I guess you just gotta get a feel for how long you can do it, and then see. And can we talk about blocking? Because it's probably the dumbest mechanic in the game, I feel. I just can't get used to it. I don't understand why you wouldn't just have a button for blocking. I mean, I guess because they were, again, only 6 buttons and they were all being used for attack, but I don't see why you can't do, say, both shoulder buttons on the Super Nintendo controller and have that be blocking rather than backing up. It's just insane to me that you can't defend yourself and advance on the opponent at the same time. It's just weird to me. Also, what knocks you down like I was just knocked down? I don't get it. Is there a consistent rule to it? Or is it just a thing where you just have to know this move does it and that move doesn't? Being knocked down and being dizzy, I don't get. Like, I know when I'm facing Balrog and he does his... And I don't get what that red fireball, I don't get how that happens either. I've done it, but I don't understand why. But yeah, when I'm facing Balrog, he does his just like 1-2 punch combo, and then I'm just dead. Knocked out, dizzy from it. So, I'm aware that it can do that, but as far as other moves, I just don't get if there's a rule to it, or just something that happens. Yeah, see, I just got dizzy there, and it just, I feel like his kick doesn't always do that. Also, Ryu's throwing out a lot of fireballs. Fireballs, way overpowered in this game, I feel. Because they're a move, like, it's like, why even play a character like Blanca that doesn't have a fireball? Because not only does the fireball make it very difficult to advance on your opponent, because Ryu specifically will throw out fireballs, and then once you try to hit him, he'll just uppercut you, and then you're fucking dead. And I guess that's part of the game, just making him guess when you're going to leap into him. But again, you have to be good at it already. It's very difficult to learn how to play around it. And it's also a thing where, like, the fireball causes damage even when you're blocking. So it's just like, why would you do anything in this game other than just spam fireballs? You mean in this game there is a character that can Hadouken you from a distance that I can't even touch them at all? And if I try to block it, it's going to cause me damage anyway? And I might be very slow and immobile and can't even get in at all? Wow, that sounds like a totally fair fight! So as you can see, I've logged quite a bit of hours into Smash Ultimate. And you know how the Switch has that feature where you can see what games your friends have been playing? Yeah, well, a friend did that to me a couple months back, and he said, wow, that many hours in Smash Ultimate? You must be fucking amazing. No, I'm not. I'm just alright. I would totally get my ass handed to me by competitive players. In fact, I went to a major once just on a whim because my friend was going and he was just like, why don't you go? I was like, okay. And everybody there just destroyed me. I mean, this was a while back and I've gotten better since then, so maybe that wouldn't be the case, but I think it would. I won a few matches, but I got lucky. So the point being, the amount of hours that you put into a game, not necessarily meaning improvement, unfortunately. And that really sucks. I have thousands of hours of Smash Bros. Under my belt, and yet I'm not some super expert player. So that's kind of why I hate when people say, all you gotta do is practice and you'll get better. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to click with something. This goes not just for video games, but for anything in life, I feel. You can get better at stuff, but you're not going to get great at stuff just by practicing. You have to understand. You can't just practice. There has to be some level of something clicking within you so you understand, and then you can get better. If that never happens, you're not going to get better. I don't think it's debatable. Otherwise, I would be great at Smash Bros. By now because I have so many hours invested in it. I was watching a video from Zero once, years ago, and if you don't know who Zero is, he was once the best Smash Bros. Player in the world for one of the games, and he is of the opinion that it's your hard work that makes you good at anything, or maybe just video games. It's your hard work, and natural ability is the less important thing. It's the hard work is the important thing, natural ability isn't. I do not agree. I do not think it matters how hard you work. I think you have your skill set. I know you don't want to hear this necessarily, but you have your skill set, and not your skill set, but your level, and you're gonna stay there. Again, unless something clicks with you, then maybe you can get better. And just realize that somebody like Zero, I'm not saying he's lying, but that's a position that he should take because he coaches people in the game and he makes a lot of money doing it. A session is not cheap with him. I think at one point it was hundreds of dollars. So he makes a good amount of money being a pro gamer from giving people lessons. So why would he say, hey, you can only be so good? Like, he has to sell you the promise of getting better. It doesn't make sense for him to be like, yeah, sorry, you can't get better, you can't get as good as me. He wants you to believe that you can be as good as him. And when I say he wants you to believe that, I mean, like, not him specifically, like, just realistically, if somebody was a smart person getting his coaching, that's what they would say. Now, when Zero said this in particular, I'm not saying he didn't believe it either. I think he actually did believe it. I think his opinion actually comes from, wow, I worked very hard to be the best in the world, and so I have to tell myself that it's because of all that hard work that I'm the best, not because I'm just naturally the best, otherwise I was just wasting my time. So I do think he believes what he says, but that just can't be true. Like, it can't be equal. The amount of hours that you put into something makes you better at something, because if it was, there's a lot of older gamers and younger gamers. Teenagers play video games all the time, and they beat older gamers. If the amount of time that you put into a game equated to how good you were at it, well, the older gamers have 20 years on these kids sometimes, so just wouldn't the older gamers just be winning all the time? It just, it doesn't make sense. Sorry to be a bubble burster if that's what I'm being, but sorry, that's what I believe.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I was also watching a video with Razor Fist, who I don't particularly like. He seems kind of angry for me, but apparently, according to him, he was one of the best Vega players in the world in Street Fighter 2, and I'm not saying he's lying, I believe him, but he also said similar things. He just said the way he got good is he would just play regularly every night, and eventually he got to a point where he was just very skilled. But again, I don't think the majority of people are like him and understand what they're doing wrong. If you don't understand what you're doing wrong and nothing clicks with you, then you could play this game till you're blue in the face. Not gonna happen. Like, I know cross-ups are a thing. I don't know when you would do a cross-up, what advantages there is to it. I assume it's just, it helps confuse the opponent as to where you're going to be, and they're going to attack the wrong space because you cross them up. But, you know, there's lots of little things like that in this game, in Smash, that I don't understand. I don't understand canceling in Smash. I assume you would want to cancel an attack to save frames, but I don't know it for a fact, and you would think that I would just look it up, but I haven't, apparently. You know, I find Google to be shitty anyway, so that's probably why I haven't done that. The silver lining in all of this is that we are in the internet age. I mean, that's generally not a silver lining to anything, because the internet kind of is destroying humanity, but in terms of this game, I can just look things up, use that as a resource as to hopefully get better. There was this channel that I really liked, and I was just searching for it to prepare for this video and tell you to go there. So this one particular guy that helps me understand some stuff, but I can't find it now, and that's really fucking frustrating. I think there was a guy named Andor. He looks like he probably knows what he's talking about, so I guess you can go to that channel to learn some stuff. Maybe some other expert players like Justin Long can teach you some stuff about Street Fighter 2 in particular. But yeah, just try to use the internet. That's your best option for trying to understand the game and have something to click with you, I think. It hasn't worked for me yet, but I think maybe it will. I haven't shelled out any money to anybody to improve in any game, because, you know, I'm from the generation where it's just like, really? I'm paying somebody to help me play a video game? That's kind of lame. But then I think about it, and it's just like, well, people pay for chess lessons, and that's also a game, so is it really that lame? If I'm paying a college kid some money to help me understand the game better, they probably need money, and they have something I want, so, you know, maybe someday I will take advantage of that. Because I want to keep playing this game. I really like this game. There's so many little things that I like. I really like how every character has the same voice for, you know, except for Chun-Li, of course, because she's a lady, but Yoga Flame, same voice as Tiger. Tiger Shot. Tiger. I really like a little thing like that. In other games I wouldn't like it, but because this is a vintage game, I just find it to be very charming. I love that. I love the little kill noise that all these characters make when they get KO'd, and the dramatic way they get slow-mo knocked down. It's very great. And I love just, this game has something that other modern fighting games don't really have, in that it's very basic and simple. I mean, games need to get more complex in a series like this to change things up and be more enjoyable, but this is still basics and fundamentals, so it's a great game to get into, I feel, in that sense. So anyway, guys, that's what it's like getting Street Fighter 2 in the modern day. Hopefully I explained my points very clearly. I'm not very used to playing video games and talking to a camera at the same time, so if I didn't get my points across, I'm sorry. But thank you so much for watching me to the end. I very much appreciate that. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a thoughtful and respectful comment down below. If you have any tips on how to get better at this game, I would really appreciate them. I would love you for it. So do that as well. You'd be a big help to me. And hopefully I see you at my next video. I talk about a lot of things on this channel, wide variety of things, so hopefully you come back. Alright, bye. You play tonight.